Thank you. That was beautiful. One of the highlights of these proceedings are the reflections offered by our students. We are pleased to have our first graduate reflections presented by Utaff W. Gordon, MED, and he will be receiving his degree in January 2008, followed by the graduate reflections from Cassandra Gordon Scott, Bachelor of Arts degree in January 2008. So Utaff, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor Johnson, Chancellor Brown, Dr. Reed, distinguished faculty of Cambridge College, guests, and to my classmates. Welcome to my home of Savannah, Georgia. I cannot begin to tell you how honored and how humbled I am to share my reflections with you on this special day. Many of you in the audience are wondering how I've come to this point in time. My message to you is divided into three parts: the journey, the individuals I've met along this journey, and the price or the value of this journey. You see, this journey began February 11th, 2007, with a vision. I sat in the back of this very same auditorium while the reflective address was being given by last year's master's degree candidate. I said to myself, I could do that. I began to visualize being at this particular point in time. I must admit, this is more than I could have ever envisioned. Mathematically, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So I could have just arisen from my seat at the back of this auditorium, taking the 57 steps necessary to get to this particular point. But I wouldn't have ever been able to appreciate the beauty of the journey. See, most people are familiar with this text, footprints in the sand. And you'll be able to understand the close parallel that I've drawn to my journey. The major difference, though, is that upon looking back, there are many footprints in my sand. So many that I cannot make out my own footprints. These footprints belong to people that I refer to as jazzy intellectuals. I call them jazzy intellectuals because of the perception of being smart is an undesirable thing amongst our young students today. How often have we as educators heard these 6 simple words? I don't want to be no nerd. I know some of y'all are kind of counting on your fingers, but I'm of the opinion that the negative derivation of the term nerd comes from the television sitcom that had the kid Urkel as its main character. All of the attributes that our youth find undesirable: jacked up high water pants, nasal tone in his voice, lacking common sense, can't quite get the girl that he desires, disrespected by classmates. But the one thing was that he was smart. Oh, the power of the media. It has potentially dumbed down a generation of youth. So I try to stay away from that term nerd. But the jazzy intellectuals, they do exist. These are the types of individuals who you can sit down with and have a wonderful conversation and never ever be intimidated by their intellect. Examples of some people that all of us are familiar with would be Oprah Winfrey, or Maya Angelou, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, or even Senator Obama. I was blessed to have a few jazzy intellectuals leave footprints in my sand. Doctors Crosland, Boatner, and Testaverde. The meals that we shared were just as enlightening as the classes. Lyda Peters, the epitome of a teacher that made class fun. My cohorts, they've imprinted on my sand by virtue of the fact that we've engaged in educational discourse and there's been a great deal of camaraderie that we've developed, a fraternal bond that'll last me for a lifetime. I would urge every young child in here to find that old person. Sit down and talk with them, for these are your jazzy intellectuals, and their wisdom has great value. But no journey comes without a price, and all has value. The price or the value of this journey is best compared to the old MasterCard commercial. The piece of paper on which these reflective addresses were written, a few cents. The price of a composition book within which you can keep your reflections, maybe $1. The price of the cap and gown for this graduation celebration, if I'm not mistaken, about $38.50. But the value of a student in your class struggling with a newly introduced concept and have a peer show them exactly what it is they are to learn and for them to understand it, priceless. The value of an evening spent planning a science activity and it going exactly as you planned it, priceless. The value of seeing a young kid with a sparkle in his or her eyes say, when I grow up, I want to be president, and know that he or she has a realistic chance, priceless. The value of having the speaker come before you with a message that is clear and concise and not too long-winded or verbose, that the message is longest on the audience, priceless. And so I wish to conclude by first thanking you, Cynthia. I want to thank you for being able to inspire me and motivate me to make it through this process. To my children and grandchildren, thanks for the inspiration you've given me to achieve. Dr. Harold Johnson, I want to thank you for giving me the prescription for completion of this program. You've been not only a professor, but you've been my mentor. You're just my guy. I thank you. I thank you to all my friends. You know who you are. Thank you for all those moments that we share. And I hope that you can consider me your jazzy intellectual. To my students and my athletes that I've coached, both past, present, and maybe those in the future, I thank you for the way you make me feel. For maybe Maya Angelou, who said, people often forget what you say. They may even forget what you do, but they never forget the way you make them feel. Thank you to my superintendent and my principal. You've given me the creative license to teach. And so, this journey has ended, and now another begins. I'll leave you with this thought. To my peers in the teaching profession, where there are those that don't believe in your abilities to achieve, simply say, I am who I am, and I do what I do. And as your ability speaks for itself, end the conversation with this one statement of universal truth about your love for teaching. It is what it is. Thank you, Savannah. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. And now we will have Miss Cassandra Gordon-Scott.